The applause had barely begun when the microphone shrieked, slicing through the celebration like shattered glass. "You're an embarrassment to this family." The voice thundered across the gymnasium. It was my uncle, Dennis Caldwell, standing by the mic, gripping it like a weapon. "Before we begin, drop a comment. What would you do if your own family humiliated you in public? Tell me below. I read every one." I froze. My cap wobbled slightly as I turned my head, slow and deliberate. He stood there, eyes wild, voice cruel. "She mopped floors at a gas station to pay for this degree," he barked. Laughter erupted from the bleachers, my own relatives. Aunt Rena fake coughed behind her hand, trying to stifle a grin. My cousin Troy smirked like he was watching live comedy. "And now she thinks she deserves applause?" I didn't speak, didn't blink. My fingers gripped the diploma case, trembling. Not from fear, but from restraint. I wouldn't give them tears, not this time. Just as he drew in breath for another blow, the university's dean stepped up. "We have a special guest with us today," she said evenly. A ripple of murmurs swept the crowd. Then the click of polished shoes on hardwood. I knew that sound. Turned, and there he was. Tailored charcoal suit, steel blue tie. Quiet dominance in every step. Ezra Langston, my husband, founder of Langston Equity Partners, the most disruptive tech VC firm in Silicon Valley. The room gasped. My uncle stumbled back, stunned. Ezra reached for my hand, kissed it lightly, and turned to the mic. "She didn't just mop floors," he said calmly. "She aced calculus at midnight after double shifts. She tutored classmates for free. She fed her little brother while your family mocked her." A hush. She didn't ask for respect. She earned it. And now, Dr. Mara Caldwell graduates top of her class in biomedical engineering while building a startup that just secured $7 million, 0 cents in pre-seed funding. I glanced at my aunt, mouth open. "Troy?" Silent. Ezra leaned close and whispered, "Let's show them who you really are." I smiled for the first time in hours, but I wasn't done. Not even close. When we stepped off that stage, I felt every eye follow me. The ceremony ended, caps flew, cameras flashed, but I only saw their stunned faces. And I was just getting started. Uncle Dennis stormed toward us, face crimson with fury. "What kind of game is this, Mara?" he bellowed. "You marry some slick investor and think it erases where you came from?" I turned slowly. My voice was steady. "And where do you think I came from, Uncle Dennis?" "A mop bucket," he hissed. "You cleaned bathrooms at 16. You lived in a rusting trailer behind Route 37. Don't act like you're one of them now." I didn't flinch, but Ezra stepped in, voice like tempered steel. "I chose her," he said, his tone razor sharp, "not because of where she started, but because of everything she survived." Dennis sneered. "What, her little sob story makes her worth something?" Ezra didn't blink. "I know it does. That trailer you mocked, she bought the land, she renovated it. It's now 4 furnished micro-units fully leased out." Dead silence. "And while you were mocking her," Ezra added, "she was learning how to invest. Quietly. She now owns 3 properties across California, including a duplex in San Jose, all in her name." Aunt Rena scoffed. "You're lying. She's just playing dress up. Mara was always the fragile one." I met her gaze, unwavering. "Was I?" I said softly. "Because I remember you calling my mother dramatic when she was dying of lupus. I remember cleaning motel rooms after school just to afford her meds, while you posted your wine tours on Facebook." Rena's smirk cracked. "And you," I said, voice steady now, "stood at her funeral and said she should have fought harder." Her hand trembled. No one spoke. Ezra reached into his jacket, pulled out his phone, and tapped a video. A screen lit up behind us, live footage from a projector he'd arranged earlier. First, Uncle Dennis pocketing a bracelet at a golf resort. Then, Aunt Rena berating a teen hostess at a Napa lounge. And Troy, face down in his car, police ticket fluttering on the windshield. Ezra kept his voice cool. "You thought your last name protected you from consequences. It doesn't. We're not here to threaten, but you should know something. He stepped forward. She's not trying to prove herself to people who never had the strength to match her struggle. I looked Dennis in the eye. You tried to humiliate me today, but I'm not ashamed. He narrowed his eyes. Why not? I smiled. Because the girl from the trailer park? She now owns your mortgage. Dennis blinked. What? I bought your house last month, I said. Through Langston Holdings. Check your next statement. And just like that, he staggered. Mara, Uncle Dennis choked. You wouldn't? I smiled, but I wasn't done. He looked like he'd seen a ghost. Aunt Rena clutched her pearls like they could shield her. Troy stepped back, his sneakers scraping the pavement like he was ready to disappear into the cracks. You bought my house? Dennis rasped. That's not legal. That can't be legal. Ezra's voice cut through, calm and precise. Perfectly legal, he said. You defaulted on your second mortgage months ago. Mara made the highest bid through a holding company because she knew you'd never sell to her directly. Rena's voice came out hollow. But why? What kind of twisted person does that to family? I tilted my head. The kind of person who begged you to stop mocking her for 10 years and got laughed at every single time. Their faces twitched. The kind of person who watched her mother die in a county hospital bed while you popped champagne 3 miles away and refused to answer your phones. Ezra's hand slid into mine. The kind of person, I continued, who cleaned highway motel bathrooms while you told people I was off chasing pipe dreams. You said I was the family embarrassment, I added, my voice low but sharp. But you are the family's shame. You're not cruel because you're hurt. You're cruel because it makes you feel powerful. Rena's lips trembled. Troy muttered, Okay, enough, you made your point. What now? You just humiliate us and walk away? I turned to him, eyes clear as glass. No, I said. You humiliated me for years. Today, I'm freeing myself from your version of me. Behind us, a soft murmur spread through the crowd. Former classmates and professors now gathered along the sidewalk. Let's go, I said, brushing my graduation gown as I turned. That's when a black car, not Ezra's usual Tesla, rolled up to the curb, a quiet, polished Rolls-Royce. The driver stepped out, opened the rear door, and out stepped a woman with elegant silver hair, warm eyes, and a cane. Troy blinked. Grandma Joan? She gave them a long, sorrowful look. I stayed quiet for too long, she said softly. Then she reached into her coat and pulled out a sealed envelope. I changed my will last year, she said, placing it directly in my hand. Rena gasped. Mom, what are you saying? I gave Mara full control of my estate. The vineyards, the houses, everything. If you've ever been underestimated, overlooked, or told you'd never make it, subscribe to this channel. Because Mara's story isn't over yet, and neither is yours. The next part will leave you speechless. The business shares, the savings, Grandma Joan said, her voice clear and steady. I watched all of you mock her while she worked harder than any of you ever have. You called Mara the failure of this family, but she's the only reason this family still has a shot at redemption. Uncle Dennis took a step forward, but Grandma raised her cane like a blade. Don't, she said, suddenly steel. You've taken enough from her. I slowly opened the envelope. Inside, a notarized letter and a brass key. To the house by Clearview Lake, Grandma said softly. Your mother's favorite place. It's yours now. Ezra leaned in and whispered. This is the moment they realized. They never broke you. I exhaled, then looked every one of them in the eye. This isn't revenge, I said. It's restoration. I'm not here to ruin you. I'm just done pretending you ever mattered. And with that, I turned away. Behind me, the silence cracked like glass. Regret rippled through their posture, the slump of shoulders, the shuffle of feet. The sound of our heels against the stone drive was louder than the tension they left behind. It felt like the curtain call to a play they never thought would end without them in the spotlight. We reached the car. Ezra opened the door with a nod, but before I stepped in, something tugged at me. I turned. They still didn't get it. They thought this was about the money, the estate, the car, my husband, the gowns, the headlines. It wasn't. So I walked back toward them, calm but firm. Uncle Dennis's jaw was tight. Aunt Rena dabbed at invisible tears. Troy's arms were crossed, jaw clenched, still clinging to the idea he could spin this. You know what hurts the most? I said, low but clear. It wasn't the bleach, or the 3 jobs, or the silence. It's that every time I achieved something, you said I didn't earn it. You said it was luck, that it was cute, that it wouldn't last. Because it was embarrassing, Dennis muttered. You showing up to family dinners in that janitor's uniform, like it was normal to be like that. I was normal, I snapped. You were the ones faking it, maxing out credit cards to impress people who never cared. Bankruptcies hidden behind fake LLCs, I continued. Dennis, you've refinanced your house 5 times. Troy, you sold your car for crypto and told everyone it was a startup pivot. And Rena, I turned slightly, locking eyes, you borrowed my student loan refund to pay for Botox. You told me it was an investment in your public image. Their jaws dropped. Because I wasn't speaking from anger anymore. I was holding up a mirror. You created this story, I said, voice unwavering, where I was the failure, the charity case, the sad little janitor. But I was the only one not pretending. Silence fell. Heavy and electric. Then I looked at Grandma Joan. I used to think being quiet made me mature, that humility would earn me your respect. I swallowed, but it just made me smaller in your eyes. And I'm done shrinking so you can feel tall. Tears shimmered in Grandma's eyes. I should have spoken up years ago, she whispered. I shook my head. You're speaking now. That's enough. Suddenly, Rena stepped forward, hands trembling. Mara, wait. Maybe we misunderstood you. Maybe we can talk. I stared at her for a long moment. You want to talk now? I asked flatly. She hesitated. We're family. The word hit like a slap. No, I said, cold and clear. We're relatives. That's not the same thing. I turned and walked back to the car. Not with rage, just with release. The door closed behind me with a soft, final click. Ezra reached over, gently took my hand. His thumb moved in slow, steady circles across my knuckles, a quiet promise of peace. You okay? He asked softly. I nodded, the lump in my throat easing. Yeah, I said, just realizing something. What's that? What's that? For years, I thought proving them wrong would feel good. I looked out the window as we pulled from the curb. But it does. What feels good is knowing I didn't turn into them. Ezra gave me that slow, proud smile, the one he saved for when I surprised even him. You didn't, he said. You became someone stronger, someone unstoppable. The road ahead stretched wide and open. Wind tangled through my hair, and for the first time in years, I breathed freely. No more shrinking, no more silence, no more shame. And as the San Francisco skyline came into view, I whispered to myself, I earned this. 2 weeks later, I stood barefoot on the hardwood floors of my mother's old lake house, now legally mine. The morning sun streamed in through tall glass windows, flooding the space with golden warmth. Outside, Clearview Lake shimmered in soft ripples, its calm waters stirring the sheer curtains like a memory brushing past. I hadn't cried the day I reclaimed my dignity, but I cried that morning, not from pain, from peace. Because after years of silence, rejection, and humiliation, I was finally standing somewhere that was mine. Not just on paper, but in spirit. Ezra stepped behind me, his arms wrapping around my waist. You didn't just survive them, Mara, he said quietly. You turned every wound into something powerful. I leaned into him. It doesn't feel real. It is, he said. It's yours. A knock echoed from the front door. I stepped away and opened it. Grandma Joan stood there, cane in hand, eyes gentle. Did I catch you at a bad time? She asked softly. Never, I smiled, pulling her into a hug. She moved carefully into the house, her eyes drifting across the space like she was walking through time. "Your mother loved this place," she said. "She'd be so proud of you." I swallowed hard. "I hope so." "She would," Joan said firmly. Then her voice lowered. "And, Mara, I need to apologize." "You don't have to." "I do," she insisted. "I watched them tear you down, watched you carry weight no child should have to, and I stayed quiet to keep the peace." She looked me straight in the eyes. "But that silence cost you, and it cost me my peace." I hugged her tightly. "Thank you for finally speaking up." "You were never really alone," she whispered. Later we sat on the deck, just the three of us, coffee in hand, the lake sparkling like it was alive. That afternoon, a thick envelope arrived by courier. I opened it. Official confirmation. Full ownership of Dennis Caldwell's property. I held the power to evict him. To return every ounce of cruelty? But I didn't. I picked up my phone, and I dialed his number. He answered after a long pause. "Mara," he said, wary. "I'm transferring the house back to you," I said calmly, "under one condition." Silence. "An apology," I continued. "A real one. Not in private, not whispered over coffee. I want you to say it in front of the same people who laughed with you. I want them to know it was never me who brought disgrace to this family." He stammered, confused. "Why would you, after everything, why would you do that?" "Because I don't want to become what you are, Dennis," I said. "Petty, vengeful, miserable. And because I didn't fight to win. I fought to rise." He didn't reply, but he understood. "I'll expect that apology by Sunday," I added, then hung up. Ezra looked at me, half in awe. "You just gave away the house." I nodded. "I gave away the house, not the power. I still have that. But I'm choosing peace." That Sunday, at a brunch hosted by one of our distant cousins in Marin, Dennis stood, red-faced, stiff, trembling. He looked me dead in the eye. "I mocked Mara when she should have been celebrated," he said, voice hoarse. "I tried to bury her story because I was ashamed of my own. And I need to say this, in front of all of you. I was wrong." He swallowed. "She's not a disgrace. She's the only one among us who never pretended to be someone she wasn't." The room froze. Rena blinked back tears. Troy didn't even lift his head. No one clapped. I stood, met his gaze, and walked out in silence. Because I didn't need applause or revenge. They would replay that moment over and over for the rest of their lives, and that was enough. Months passed. I launched a biomedical research foundation, named after my mom. Ezra and I traveled. We built something real, something ours. And some nights, I'd lie awake and remember that graduation stage. The microphone, the laughter, the shame. And I'd smile, because the girl who once scrubbed motel floors now funded scholarships for girls like her. Because the woman they once mocked had become a name whispered in reverence. Because every attempt to break me only taught me how to rebuild. Stronger, wiser, untouchable. And next time someone dared say I didn't belong, I'd smile and say, "No, you just didn't recognize who I was becoming." If you've ever been made to feel small for dreaming big, stand with me. Subscribe to this channel and help amplify stories like mine. Because silence protected them for too long, but not anymore. Your support helps turn quiet strength into unstoppable momentum.